What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Are the Dbacks officially sellers after getting swept by the Miami Marlins? And power ranking the Dbacks' biggest issues in 2025.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing that disgusting sweep to the Miami Marlins and then power ranking the D-backs' biggest issues in 2025, getting into the nitty gritty. So a whole bunch I want to talk to you guys about on today's podcast. But first, I want to say thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. I try to go live on YouTube Sunday through Thursday when I can, when I'm available. So check me out on YouTube. Hit the little bell icon so you get notified when I go live, or follow me on social media because I always tweet before I go live. Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle, or look up at Creator Thomas 24 for the personal account. But now let's get into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and let's talk about that D-backs versus Marlins series, because my God, was there a more disgusting series that the D-backs have played this year? I mean, there's been a few, and this Marlins series is going to be up there. I mean, we were swept by the Cincinnati Reds not that long ago. Every time the D-backs are in position to put themselves further in the wild card race or separate themselves from the rest of the pack, build momentum, make us start feeling good at D-back, start making us feel good as D-backs fans. Like we always say, whenever they take one step forward, it feels like the D-backs take two steps back, because they were on their way to having the best record in the National League in the month of June. We've been saying we wanted to hit 16 wins in the month of June for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That was our big mark all season long, because when you look at the D-backs last year in 24, of course, they started the season terribly, but June is where they start to turn it around. They got 16 wins in the month of June last season. That was their start, their turnaround. And even the year before in 2023, June, they had exactly 16 wins. And so for the month of June in 2025, we were saying the D-backs need 16 wins again so they could start building momentum, start turning their season around, and becoming buyers at the deadline instead of sellers. And entering the Marlins series, the D-backs were at 14 wins. You had 4 games left. You had 3 games against the Marlins, 1 game against the Giants. And so we just needed you to go 2-2 in your last 4 games to hit 16 wins. And again, it's against the Miami Marlins, but instead the D-backs get swept by Miami at their home stadium of Chase Field. And it's disgusting to see, because the D-backs needed these games, needed these wins, and they were just not able to do it. They just kind of rolled over in this series. And when you go game by game, it's disgusting how this D-backs team lost. Game number 1, Merrill Kelly and the defense does not show up. Merrill Kelly gives up 3 earned runs. The defense charges Merrill Kelly with 5. He had 7 strikeouts, but he's only able to go 5 innings pitched. Can't go deep in the game against the Miami Marlins. And the Marlins outslugged the D-backs in game number 1. D-backs try to make a comeback in the 9th inning, but when you bring in Taylor Scott late in the game, who is absolutely terrible, you're basically conceding the game. Taylor Scott has been terrible in every outing for Arizona. He's DFA'd now, but the damage is done when you bring him in in a ball game, you're basically telling your team the game is over. And it was a close game until Taylor Scott came in. After the seventh inning, it was a one-run ball game. Taylor Scott makes it a 4-run ball game. D-backs still almost come back in the ninth, but damage done by Taylor Scott in game one. Merrill Kelly not elite enough, and the defense not good enough. You look at game number 2, this was on the bullpen. I don't put Torey Lovullo's game plan management too much in this one because you bring in Jalen Beeks after Kevin Ginkel has a clean outing, and Beeks just absolutely terrible. Gives up 3 earned runs, including the home run. And then Ryan Thompson, he's fine in that game, but it's Shelby Miller who blows the save late in the game. And even though we call Shelby Miller our best reliever, I've never felt like he's been great this season. He has multiple blown saves. I don't trust him in any big high leverage moments at all, especially in save situations. And so was I surprised to see they blew a save in game number 2? No, but the fact that the D-backs are up 7-3 entering the 8th and you blow a 4-run lead to the Miami Marlins, that's disgusting. And then the finale, this is where I will blame some Torey Lovullo because you bring in Jalen Beeks, who gives up 5 earned runs, and it's like he gave up the 3-run home run to Otto Lopez the day before, and so we're bringing him back out to rebuild his confidence. Well, how about after he walks 3 batters and has the bases loaded, we take him out? Nope, we still keep him in there. How about after he walks 3 batters and then gives up a hit, which scores 2, and gives up the lead? Maybe you then take out Jalen Beeks because you let him face Otto Lopez yesterday or in game 2, and he gives up the 3-run shot. You let him face him in the finale, bases loaded. He gives up a 2-run single. It's like, why are we letting Jalen Beeks face Otto Lopez for a second straight day after he already gets burned in game number 2? To rebuild his confidence, to rebuild his character, that's when I don't understand. And then not only does he give up the 2-run single in the lead, we still keep him out there after that. He gives up another hit that scores more runs before the D-backs decide to take Jalen Beeks out. Like, I don't understand. That's when I get upset at Torey Lovullo. Like, I know the bullpen is terrible. I know it's bad. I know there's nobody you could trust in the pen, but I still think you have to have someone ready to go because John Curtis was back there. He was warming up, but somehow we just kept going to Beeks batter after batter. And then as soon as John Curtis comes in, he gets like 3 outs on like 8 pitches. And it's like, I know the bullpen isn't good, but you still have to have a short leash. You still have to pull guys and put the next guy in, even if the probability doesn't change, even though the result still might end up being a blown save or a bullpen meltdown. You still can't let Beeks go out there for 30 pitches and face 12 batters. Like, you still have to have a shorter leash, even if the results aren't going to be different with the next guy. You still have to do the process just to show everyone, look, I'm doing everything I can. I'm pushing all the buttons I can push, but at the end of the day, the players aren't performing. I could understand that if Torey Lovullo goes to the next guy and then he blows it. But to keep a guy in, to face batter after batter and then give up the lead and then give up more runs, that's when it doesn't make any sense. That's when you should have a very short leash with your pitchers. And now the D-backs are in a position where they look like sellers. Everyone is talking about how the D-backs are probably not going to be buyers anymore after this series against the Marlins getting swept. The D-backs are more likely to be buyers or more likely to be sellers than buyers at the MLB trade deadline. All the D-backs had to do was finish the month of June strong. They went under 500, 4-5 against the White Sox, the Rockies, and the Marlins. That's all you need to know about this D-back season. That's all you need to know about the D-backs' chances of making the playoffs and everything. When you look back on 2025, don't talk about the injuries. Don't talk about this and that. Just look at this 2-week stretch where the D-backs couldn't beat the Rockies, the Marlins, and the White Sox, and that's all you need to know as to why this D-backs team will miss the postseason at the end of 2025. And next, we'll actually power rank the D-backs' biggest issues as to why they'll miss the postseason in 2025 in segment number 2. But first, I want to talk to you guys about FanDuel because summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is the same game parlay. Whenever I see the D-backs are playing, give me the opponent's money line. Give me the D-backs starting pitcher. Give me their over on runs allowed, and give me their under on strikeouts. Because when that 3-leg hits, it doesn't bring a smile to my face because I'm sad to bet against the D-backs. But my bank account is happy to grow because the D-backs are a good team to bet against right now. So especially late in the game, when you see the D-backs have a lead and that bullpen coming in, that's when you bet the opposing team. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150. But new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's power rank the D-backs. Biggest issues in 2025 as to why this D-backs team has struggled and why they will not make the postseason at the end of the year. The first reason, and we're going to start with the top. We're going to start with the biggest reason and then work our way down. I believe the biggest reason as to why the D-backs are going to miss out on the postseason this year is Torey Lovullo and his bullpen management. That has been reason number one to me. Like you saw in the finale against the Miami Marlins, I think situations like that where Torey Lovullo just leaves his guy in way too long to face way too many batters, I think has been the D-backs' biggest issue. And the bullpen has underperformed. We'll talk about that later. But how many times have you seen? This is not the first game where Torey Lovullo leaves the batter in too long, or leaves the reliever in too long. He does it way too often where he either leaves the guy in way too long to face too many guys, or you'll have a situation where we saw not that long ago, right? It was Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's been crushing us all series. There was a base open, and instead we pitched to Vlad. He kills us instead of walking in. How many times have we had a base open where the hottest player who's crushed us all series comes up to the plate? We pitch to him, and then he still crushes us. How many times have we seen, other teams outmaneuver the D-backs by going to their bench player? So we have to bring out our reliever, who's probably not as good as the guy already in the game. Like, I feel like when it comes to the bullpen management, Torey Lovullo just gets outmaneuvered all the time. The amount of times we see our relievers become unavailable because Torey Lovullo maybe wastes too many guys early in a game or throws out too many of the best relievers in a game that doesn't matter. Like, there's games where the D-backs are up 4 or 5 runs where it's like, why is J Mart pitching in this game? And I just think the overall utilization of the D-backs bullpen at times, like when we've seen J Mart not come in save situations, like I think the fact that we didn't have bullpen roles this whole season have also really hurt this D-backs team. Like, I think the management of the bullpen is the biggest issue for everything with this D-backs team. Like, they've underperformed, but I think Torey Lovullo has pulled guys or kept guys in way too long this year. I think there's been times where we pitch to guys when we should be walking them or going to somebody else. I think there's been times where Torey Lovullo just doesn't have that pulse or the feel. And it's like, why you're not defining the bullpen roles? Why is J Mart coming out in the 7th inning, the 8th inning? Why is AJ Puck closing this game, but just Martinez closing the next one? Like, I just don't think there's been a lot of rhyme or reason or consistency to this D-backs bullpen 2025. And yes, guys have struggled, but I just think none of them have been put in the proper position to help this D-backs team win. I would have came into 2025, J Mart the closer, AJ Puck, you're to the setup man, and then everyone else will try to figure out your role in a high leverage situation or whatever. But you start there by defining the role for those two guys, and then you figure it out for everyone else. I just think Torey Lovullo has done a terrible job of pulling guys when to pull them, situational pitching, and also just overall utilization of guys, putting them in the best positions for this D-back squad. So I will say bullpen management is the number one reason as to why this D-backs team has struggled in 2025. The number two reason for the underperformance from the 2025 D-backs to me is the bullpen underperformance. I think bullpen management is number one because I don't think Torey Lovullo has put his guys in the best positions. But also, I do want to call out the actual relievers in the D-backs pen because they have been atrocious in 2025. Shelby Miller, the numbers on paper look good. 2.18 ERA, double-digit strikeouts per nine, a good whip. But we all know this guy loves traffic on the bases and save situations. I think he has 5 blown saves on the season. I don't trust him. Jalen Beeks, all of a sudden, his ERA is 4.7. And before even his last 2 meltdowns against the Marlins, I thought he had a shaky 2025 either because I never trusted him with inherited runners on the bases. Ryan Thompson, all of a sudden, has a lower ERA than Jalen Beeks, and it's still at 4.6. He's given up so many hits this year. The ground balls aren't there like they used to be. And Ryan Thompson, just someone I do not trust at all, despite him coming in seemingly every high leverage, 8th inning moment. No D-backs fan trusts him in those moments. Ryan Thompson has been awful. Juan Murillo, up and down. He's actually been a bright spot. I mean, the numbers aren't elite for Juan Murillo, but it's his first season. He throws super hard. He's kind of in that Justin Martinez mode right now where he came in, early and a little bit raw. Kevin Ginkel has been awful this year. He's looked good against the Miami Marlins in this most recent series in game 1 and game 2, but on the year, he's been lit up and has definitely costed the D-backs a few games. And go through the rest of the pen. I mean, we had Taylor Scott out there, Joe Mantiply out there. Kendall Graveman hasn't been that good this year. We got Del Scafani, Scott McGuff. Like, the D-backs pen has been bad this year, and there hasn't been many bright spots. The only one is Justin Martinez, and he's, of course, out for the season with Tommy John. AJ Puck was the other good D-backs reliever. He's, of course, out for the season as well. So D-backs currently have no relievers that actually trust in a big situation or a high leverage moment, which is sad to say because even as bad as the D-backs bullpen has been the last few years, we always had at least 1, 2, 3 guys that you trusted because the last few years, Kevin Ginkel has been good. Ryan Thompson has been good. Justin Martinez has been good. There's always been guys like Scott McGuff or Miguel Castro or, Slade Ciccone, or there was always someone random. Matt Peacock, Caleb Smith. There was always 1 or 2 guys, 3 guys in the D-backs bullpen that you absolutely hated. But there's always a couple guys that you like. Joe Mantiply has been good the last few years. Kyle Nelson has had moments. And so the fact that we're now at a point with the D-backs, we're also at a point with the D-backs pen where we just trust nobody. I think that's a little bit crazy. So I have to put the D-backs overall bullpen underperformance as the number 2 reason in 2025. And the final reason we'll talk about, at least in segment number 2, is the rotation taking a step back under Brian Kaplan. And you can really say the whole pitching staff taking a step back under Brian Kaplan. But I more want to talk about the rotation because I think that has looked worse than ever with new pitching coach Brian Kaplan. And you just can't blame injuries because, yes, Corbin Burns is out for the season, but it's so you could just look at this team and it's so much due to performance. And it's like, why is that? Why is Zach Gallen all of a sudden one of the worst pitchers in baseball? I think we've seen Zach Gallen trending in the wrong direction, as I've said for a while, but he shouldn't be at a point where he's now one of the worst pitchers, arguably, in the National League. You got Merrill Kelly, who's still good, but he's starting to be a little bit more up and down, a little bit more consistent as the season is progressing. Brandon Pfaadt started the season fantastic. Those first 7 starts, that first 6 weeks of the season. Now he's completely unraveled. Erod had a great month of June. He had like a 1.9 ERA in the month of June, but still on the season, you don't like what you've seen from Erod. And so Corbin Burns was the only bright spot for this D-backs team, and he's hurt now. And it's like Corbin Burns has been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball for like 6 seasons now. So Brian Kaplan wasn't probably making or breaking Corbin Burns' season, but for everyone else, it's like this rotation has taken a major step back. Gallen, Pfaadt, Erod, even a little Merrill Kelly's still a stud, but I even don't think he's looked as crisp this year as he has in other years, especially under Brent Strom. And you look at that Pirates rotation, their pitching staff is a 3.7 ERA, 3.78 ERA on the season. Paul Skeens is going to be in line to win the Cy Young Award, but Mitch Keller still having a pretty solid season. Bailey Falter is having a solid season, and their bullpen's doing its job. You look at David Bednar, who was coming off one of the worst seasons of his career last year, right? Now he's back to a 2.8 ERA, highest strikeout rate of his career. And it's like, look what a good pitching coach can do for you. Look how everyone in this D-backs bullpen all of a sudden looks terrible. The Ginkles, the Thompsons, all the rotation guys. Like, Brian Kaplan has hurt the Arizona Diamondbacks because we went from having one of the best pitching coaches to having a pretty questionable one right now. So I think the number one issue for the D-backs this year has been Lovullo and the bullpen management. I think number two has been the bullpen underperforming. The number three is probably the rotation and the pitching staff under Brian Kaplan. I still got three more reasons as to why the D-backs has struggled in 2025. And we'll get into those reasons in segment number three. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. My favorite Wonderful Pistachios I actually have right here. Sorry to the audio listeners only. You're going to have to go to YouTube for this one because right next to me, I got 3 of my favorite flavors here. And this is what is great about Wonderful Pistachios. Unsalted right here, no shell. Chili roasted, no shell. And then this one is roasted and salted with the shell. The great thing about Wonderful Pistachios is the variety. You could get salted, unsalted, with shell, no shell. Get a little kick to it if you wanted to. No matter what flavor you want, they have a variety and a profile that fits just for you. So please go get yourself some Wonderful Pistachios. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and let's wrap up the podcast by talking about a few more issues, the biggest issues as to why the D-backs have struggled in 2025. Number 1 was Lovullo and the bullpen management. Number 2 was the bullpen and underperforming. Number 3 was the rotation and pitching staff taking a step back under Brian Kaplan. Number 4 is Mike Hazen's inability to evaluate a bullpen. Yes, because Mike Hazen came into the season another year where the D-backs bullpen really wasn't addressed. I thought maybe we'd get one guy in free agency that we knew was a stud, didn't happen. We talked a lot about Ryan Hesley, didn't happen. We talked about, trying to potentially make a splash, at the deadline and go out there and get a big reliever. But for some reason, the D-backs can't make a move for a reliever until the deadline. I don't know why we can't trade for guys 3 weeks out, but Mike Hazen's issue since coming over to Arizona and since I've taken over this podcast has been building a great bullpen, and adding a guy like Justin Martinez, who we developed, has been great. Trading for AJ Puck last year was fantastic as well. Ginkle coming back around is good, but when we look at the overall D-backs bullpen, overall, it's a lot more of just randomness from guys and veteran relievers who are journeymen, who we know aren't good, who we know we don't trust, and waiver wire dudes. It's like, why don't we have more established relievers that we either developed or that we signed in free agency? Because there are just way too many Taylor Scotts and the Del Scafanis, these journeymen. Even though Ryan Thompson was good in 2023, D-backs rely heavily on guys that they just find on the waiver wire. And it's like, that's not a formula for success. And when we do sign veteran free agents, it's the Joaquim Sorias, the Tyler Clippards, the Scott McGuffs, Miguel Castros. Like, Mike Hazen's inability to either spend on free agents or go out there and trade for guys for the bullpen has been a massive issue for this D-backs team, because the bullpen has been the biggest problem for Arizona since I've taken over this podcast in 2025 or in 2020. And so the fact that it has never been addressed, it's gotten better over the years. And I actually was very high in the bullpen entering 2025, but you look at it now, unmitigated disaster. For some reason, the D-backs have to wait until the deadline to trade for guys instead of being a little bit more aggressive early in July. And so this D-backs team, if they miss out on the postseason again, I mean, we've already done 3 of our top 4 reasons are bullpen. I mean, all the reasons, honestly, the top 4 reasons are all bullpen related. Lovullo bullpen management, bullpen underperforming, the bullpen under Brian Kaplan, and then Hazen's inability to evaluate a bullpen. The bullpen has been a big issue for the D-backs this season. I think it's the 4th biggest issue. Mike Hazen's inability to build a good bullpen and keep going after these veteran journeyman guys. It just doesn't make much sense. Number 5, injuries to the team. I think I look at Torey Lovullo and underperformance before I look at injuries to this D-backs team. Last season, I will blame injuries because, again, you go look at the first half of last season for the D-backs, and within the first month of the year, you pretty much lost Gallen, Merrill Kelly. You lost, who else? I don't know why I'm blanking. I'll pull it up real quick. You lost Gallen, Merrill Kelly. You lost Monty. You lost Erod. You lost your whole rotation, essentially, in the first 6 weeks of the season. Ryan Nelson finished the year second on the team in innings pitched. He had more innings pitched than Zach Gallen last year. Like, I think we forget how hurt this D-backs rotation was last year. Kelly made 73 innings pitched. Slade Ciccone had more innings pitched than Merrill Kelly. He had more innings pitched than Erod. Jordan Montgomery was terrible last year. He still put up 117 innings pitched. Like, I think the rotation injuries was the D-backs' biggest issue in 2025, plus a slow start from the offense in the first half. But in this season, 2025, I think it's been underperformance has been the biggest issue, and injuries is a little bit further down the list because you can't deny losing Corbin Burns, your big offseason free agent signing, hurts. Losing your 2 best relievers hurts. And then you look at this lineup, Carroll, Suarez, Naylor, everyone's getting beat up right now. But injuries is not the biggest problem because look at this weekend series against the Marlins. We did not get swept because of injuries. We put up 8 runs in game number 1. We put up 7 runs in game 2, right? We were in position to win the finale. Like, the D-backs could have won this whole series and swept the Marlins, but their bullpen or lack thereof struggling is why they lost this series, right? We've seen Ryan Thompson be good. He was not good in the finale. We've seen Jalen Beeks be good earlier in the season. He was not good in game 2 and game 3. And so, yes, AJ Pucker, Justin Martinez changes that formula probably a little bit, but it's underperformance as to why this D-backs team is struggling. You just can't blame injuries. Injuries are the number 5 reason on my list. I look at the players and the management before I look at them. And then the number 6 reason I think why the D-backs have struggled this year, because they lost their identity. Chaos in defense. D-backs defense has been shaky this year. Eugenio Suarez has been one of the worst defensive third basemen in the sport. Overall, it feels like the D-backs just commit way too many errors for a team that's supposed to be pretty good defensively. You got a whole bunch of guys with, Gold Glove finalists or have been nominated, but Suarez has 11 errors. Perdomo has 4. Naylor has 4. Like, we've just seen too many of our studs just struggle defensively, and it's been a calling card for the D-backs under Torey Lovullo since 2017, 2025. Same with the speed and the chaos. D-backs below league average in steals when we have a team with Tawa, Carroll, Thomas, McCarthy, Perdomo. Like, how he's so slow as a team. D-backs have lost their identity. They've lost their mojo. I think that's the 6th biggest reason as to why they're going to miss the playoffs in 2025. But again, if you have to power rank all of them, number 1, Lovullo and the bullpen management. Number 2, bullpen underperforming. Number 3, rotation and pitching staff taking a step back under Brian Kaplan. Number 4, Hazen's inability to build a good bullpen. Number 5, injuries to the team. And then number 6, losing your identity with defense and chaos. That's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.